The letter that arrived 30 years after the murder. Imagine this. A murder rocks a small city. The killer vanishes, and for 30 years, the case goes cold. Until one letter arrives, confessing everything. The secrets inside this envelope shattered lives, exposed long-buried lies, and forced a city to face the truth. If you want real stories that reveal how justice always finds a way, even decades later, hit subscribe and join me here on the Pulse of Truth, because this is the case of the letter that arrived 30 years after the murder. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy my interesting story for you. The murder that shook Harrisburg. It was a chilly October morning when Harrisburg changed forever. At 7:32 a.m., neighbors reported hearing a scream near Green Street, just a few blocks from the Susquehanna River. When police arrived, they found the body of Mary Ellen Parker, a 39-year-old elementary school teacher and church choir director. She had been stabbed multiple times in the small alley behind her home. Mary Ellen was known by everyone, the kind of woman who baked cookies for her students, volunteered at Sunday school, and never missed a church picnic. Her murder stunned the city. The scene was brutal, but strangely clean. There were no footprints, no forced entry, and no witnesses. Whoever did this knew where Mary Ellen would be that morning, and they got away without leaving much behind. The city was terrified. For weeks, Harrisburg police set up checkpoints, questioned dozens of suspects, and combed through every inch of Green Street. But as weeks turned to months, and months to years, the case went cold. But someone, somewhere, never forgot that morning. And 3 decades later, they would finally speak. The lead detectives regret. For Detective Frank Russo, the Parker case was the one that got away. Russo had joined the Harrisburg Police Department in the late 1970s, known for his sharp instincts and relentless work ethic. By 1985, he had solved nearly every major homicide that came across his desk. But Mary Ellen Parker's murder was different. No matter how many leads he chased, every clue led to a dead end. Frank never forgave himself for failing Mary Ellen. After he retired in 2002, he kept one box from his years on the force. Just one. Inside were crime scene photos, interview notes, and a copy of Mary Ellen's obituary, folded and yellowed with age. Every October, on the anniversary of her death, Frank would go down to his basement, pour a glass of bourbon, and reopen that file. He would sit for hours, staring at the evidence, hoping he had missed something all those years ago. He told his wife once, "I see her face every time I close my eyes." The case wasn't just unsolved, it had become a part of him. And though he had long retired, Frank prayed that one day someone would come forward and tell the truth. The letter arrives. On a quiet Tuesday morning in March 2023, a male clerk at the Harrisburg Police Department noticed something strange. Among the usual traffic tickets and reports was a single weathered envelope addressed simply to Harrisburg Homicide Division, Urgent. The return address was smudged, but the postmark was clear, Columbus, Ohio. Inside was a single handwritten letter. The writing was shaky, but the words were unmistakable. "My name is Robert Keller. I am 67 years old, and I am dying. I killed Mary Ellen Parker in 1985. I cannot leave this world without telling the truth." The letter went on to describe details of the crime that had never been made public, the exact position of the body, the words Mary Ellen said in her final moments, and a small silver cross she had been wearing that was never found. It was the breakthrough Harrisburg had been waiting for. After 38 years, the Parker case was open again. But there was no time to waste. The man who confessed was dying, If they wanted the full truth, they had to find him now.
The race against time. Within hours of receiving the letter, Harrisburg detectives ran Robert Keller's name through every database they had. Keller was living in a nursing home just outside Columbus, Ohio. He was in hospice care with only weeks to live. Detectives packed their bags and drove 6 hours straight to Ohio. This was their one shot. If Keller died before they got there, the truth might die with him. As they drove, one detective called Frank Russo, the man who had spent his career haunted by this case. Frank was 74 now, long retired, but when he heard Keller's name, he didn't hesitate. "I'm coming," he said. The next morning, Frank boarded a train to Ohio. After 30 years, he was going to look Mary Ellen's killer in the eye. When they arrived at the nursing home, the air was heavy. Robert Keller was frail, lying in a hospital bed, tubes running from his arms. But when detectives entered the room, his eyes opened and he smiled. "I knew you'd come," he said softly. What Keller told them next would change everything they thought they knew about the murder and about Harrisburg itself.
The truth revealed. Robert Keller's voice was weak, but his words cut like a knife. "I killed Mary Ellen Parker," he began. "But I didn't do it alone." Keller said he had been having an affair with Mary Ellen in 1985. It was passionate, but messy. When Mary Ellen ended it, Keller became obsessed. "I begged her to come back," he said. "That morning, she told me she was going to tell my wife everything." I snapped, but then Keller said something no one expected. "I wasn't supposed to get away with it," he whispered. "I left the scene covered in blood. The cops should have had me that day, but someone made sure they didn't." According to Keller, after the murder, he went straight to a man he knew could protect him, Councilman Henry Dwyer, one of the most powerful politicians in Harrisburg at the time. Dwyer was also Keller's wife's uncle. Keller claimed that Dwyer used his influence to derail the investigation, pressuring police to drop promising leads, blocking search warrants, and quietly burying evidence that pointed to Keller. "He told me to disappear," Keller said. "Said he'd handle it. And he did." Frank Russo gripped the edge of Keller's bed. "You let her family suffer for 30 years, he said quietly. Keller nodded, tears streaming. "I know. That's why I wrote the letter. I can't go before God with this secret on my soul." The confession was complete, but now detectives had to make a choice: arrest a dying man or let him pass in peace and focus on bringing closure to Mary Ellen's family. The family's reaction. When Mary Ellen's family got the call, they didn't know what to expect. For decades, they had lived with questions. Some had given up hope. Others still lit a candle every October in Mary Ellen's memory. Now, after 38 years, detectives were finally bringing them the answer they had been waiting for. As Robert Keller's confession played, the room fell silent. Mary Ellen's sister covered her mouth and began to cry, a sound that seemed to carry all the pain of 3 decades. Her brother, now gray-haired, sat motionless, staring at the floor. When the recording ended, her sister spoke softly. "We waited so long for this, and it still hurts just as much." For the family, the truth was a double-edged sword. They finally knew what happened that day, but they also had to relive the pain, the betrayal, and the knowledge that a powerful man had helped the killer walk free for years. But despite the hurt, there was relief. "At least now," her sister said, "we can stop wondering. We can finally lay her to rest." That night, for the first time in 30 years, the Parker family slept without asking what happened to Mary Ellen. The lesson. After the case was closed, Frank Russo went back to his basement, the place where he had carried Mary Ellen's memory for decades. For 38 years, this file had been a weight on his shoulders. Tonight, he closed it for the last time. Robert Keller died 2 weeks after giving his confession. His last words to the nurse were, "Tell them I'm sorry." For the Parker family, there would never be full justice, but there was truth. And sometimes, truth is the only thing left to set us free. This case is a reminder that the past never truly stays buried. Truth has a way of finding the light, no matter how many years have passed. This case proves one thing: the past never truly stays buried. No matter how many years pass, the truth will find its way to the light. If you believe every victim deserves justice, even decades later, hit that subscribe button and join me here on the Pulse of Truth. Together, we'll uncover more stories that remind the world justice may be delayed, but it is never denied.